It's August 21st. Beautiful day here in Northeast Ohio. I hope we get plenty more of these before fall hits. Um, Starting to notice the nights are getting a little cooler, which makes for better sleeping weather, but you kind of know what's coming from there. So enjoy it while you can. So, anyway, I finished the gazebo for all practical purposes. Spent a few days working on it here and there, and have a few small things to do, but for the most part it is done. And as you can see, the furniture is in place and it turned out pretty good. I like it. It's a nice place. I've already come out and sat a couple times and not had to deal with the bugs. So here it is, complete. There's the ceiling fan. I've used it a couple times just to circulate the air, and it's fun sitting here watching a pond, watching the people go by, and just enjoying a nice day. So I've had my morning coffee and looked at the news. It seems like there's more financial troubles brewing. Um, in the bond market, the Treasury is purchasing bonds, and I think that's just another way of uh, using the term quantitative easing, which seemed to originate back in the 2008 crash. Ben Bernanke was the chairman of the Federal Reserve, and I don't know if he coined that phrase or he just brought it mainstream, because that's when I first heard of it. Couldn't even hardly pronounce it at first. It was kind of a tongue twister. Surely didn't know what it was until I looked into it. And basically, um, it it is a term that means what it says. They flood the market with money, quantitative, and it eases the tightness of the money supply. And they do have a another term, quantitative tightening, and that brings back some of the extra money. So depending on what the money supply is. But anyway, back when I first heard about that, I think the amount was $40 billion per month that they were flooding money into the economy. And I'm not an economist. It just seemed to me like, oh my God, that much money is going to devalue our currency overnight. And that didn't happen. I guess, they have ways of funneling the money here and there to keep that from happening. It will eventually. And I think we're facing some of that now through our inflation, and also all the money that they pumped into the economy during the COVID. We're facing that now. So we kind of got a double whammy there. I just know that money meant something back, prior to 1971, when Nixon took us off the gold standard, or detached the dollars from gold, and then the Treasury or the Federal Reserve could pretty much just print money as they willed. So the attachment to the gold helped keep them from going crazy with the printing presses or putting digital units on the screen. So um, since 71, I know our money is devalued a lot. And who would hurt the most are the people, the everyday people who, over the years, worked in factories and offices, and they saved their money for retirement. Well, now their money is worth less than half what it was probably when they saved it. And the rich people, the money started devaluing, they were able to get out of cash and get into assets. And then when the assets rose, they can sell that and get back. And they have financial advisors and time that us everyday people don't have. I mean, we're busy working, raising a family, whatever. You don't have time to watch your assets as closely as you should. And so therefore we get hurt. We're holding dollars that are becoming more and more worthless every day. I tried to divest a little bit into precious metals, into assets, land, but there's a problem with land, is that you can get property tax, which eats away at your money. It's like anything else. You have a house that appreciates in value, but your property taxes increase also, and your property insurance increases. So it's, even though you got a valuable asset, if you're living there, you can't just sell it and realize the gains. you need a roof over your head, so you got a valuable asset that's also costing you money, and not to mention upkeep and new furnace, new roof, all that stuff. So there's a problem with certain assets for us everyday people that the rich really don't consider, because they just have so much money they can throw at any problem. But anyway, so hopefully this latest round of quantitative easing won't hurt us as much as the previous rounds have, and maybe if the interest rates can come down a little bit. I know a lot of people are wishing they would go up, but if they could come down a little bit, hopefully the government can serve its national debt more easily. And I think the president said for every basis point that interest rates fall, that's several $billion in the coffers for paying down the debt, which they probably never will. I was just contemplating what else I wanted to get done before fall, and the weather gets too bad to do anything because of the mud and just the darn cold weather. Who wants to be out trying to dig in the mud? But I did an awful lot this year. I really feel good about what I've got accomplished, especially with the gazebo. That was a lot more work than what I assumed it would be, and putting in that screening was really tough. I figured it'd be a little easier. I learned a lot about installing screening, but who knows if I'll ever use that again. But anyway, yeah, I was just trying to figure out. I planted a lot of trees this year. Luckily, I was able to get quite a few of them when Lowe's had their 75% off. And I think I might try to make another trail. I just really enjoy walking these trails. This is just a little area that when I first bought this, it was just all field. And I started mowing it, and I got tired of mowing so much. And at one point, I decided to let it grow up. And I'm glad I did. I got some beautiful trees here, nice shady paths. And I've got a lot of area I can still develop into walking paths. I'll probably maybe put in a garden here. As you can see, I got my shooting range. I haven't shot for a while, but it's there for when I want it. So I think another path I may incorporate over here somewhere to circle around through the back part of the property. And then I'll plant some trees or some plants along the way just to have points of interest. Put in a bench, be able to sit down and listen to nature. So that's kind of my thing. I like being outside a lot. That was part of the reason for the gazebo. I haven't spent the night out there yet, but I hope to do that before the weather gets too cold too. And I know we usually get a Indian summer with some warm nights, and maybe I'll pick one of those nights and spend the night out there and see what the experience is like. So that's it for now. I'll talk to you later. Okay, well, I have a couple small projects I'm going to work on today. I'm going to get busy on them. I think I'll have another cup of coffee and try to enjoy this beautiful day, because I know they are numbered here in Northeast Ohio. Even though I really love the fall. I mean, I love the spring more, but I love the fall. The smell in the air, the leaves changing, it's a beautiful sight, and it's too short. And then the winter, and I like the snow. I mean, I look out and see everything covered in white with the background of all these green pine trees. It's just beautiful. If it would just stay, have its limits, but unfortunately, we get some big snows. I live about 5 miles south of Lake Erie, and before it freezes over, any winds coming across through Canada and across the lake pick up a lot of moisture and dump it on us, and called lake effect snow, if you haven't heard of that. And I'm living in part of what's called the snow belt, and it is named that because of the lake effect snow that we can receive. Now, some years we can really get dumped on, and I mean 3 foot of snow or more, and then a couple days later you get even more snow than that. So on a bad year, it can be tough. And then we've had some years where we've gotten just a small amount of snow and a lot of bare ground for most of the winter. So we don't know what we're going to get. I guess that's part of the fun of life, not knowing. I hope it's more of a mild winter. Last winter we had some really cold temperatures, which drove up the cost of utilities. So I was a little bit worried a couple times that what my bill was going to be after one of them really cold months, a lot of sub-zero weather. So hopefully we don't get that this year, and we don't get that every year. Some years we have a real mild winter, and it's kind of a joy. You can still get out, do things. Of course, you got to wear a jacket, but that just kind of adds to the spice of life, the change in seasons. I don't think I would do well someplace where I know I would hate the desert area. First of all, I like the green too much. And second of all, every day the same thing, hot, sunny, having to hide midday, behind an air conditioner. I just would hate that. And knowing that every day is going to be pretty much the same, save for a couple of days here and there that you might get rain or whatever. I'm not sure how often they get rain in the desert, but no, that wouldn't be for me. I know that for a fact. And even someplace like Florida, I mean, I've been to Florida. It's hot as heck, even in the spring. I think I was down there right around spring break one year. Can't remember which year. And it was hot. I can't imagine in the summertime. So, and it gets hot enough here. Sometimes I get tired of the heat. We just had a heat dome settle over us. Oh, it's probably been a few weeks ago now. And for quite a few days, it was just blistering, at least to me. To somebody who's used to the heat, probably wouldn't have been as bad. But anyway, so yeah, the seasons are changing, and it's fine with me. So I'll hope you guys are all having a good week. I know the kids have started back to school here a couple of days ago, and that's definitely a sign of fall. So talk to you all later. So we now have 3 aircraft carriers over in the Middle East. We've been hearing a lot about, I believe it's the Abraham Lincoln, the problems aboard. And honestly, I think something is awry with that. A lot of what we're hearing seems to be national security issues. I mean, if we have a aircraft carrier over in the Mideast, we are trying to project power, not weakness. And they're projecting weakness. I don't think that they would allow that to happen unless it's a ruse. And, who knows? But supposedly this third aircraft carrier, the George Washington, I think, is supposed to relieve the Lincoln. And really, why, if we're now in a war of attrition, Iran is supposedly being hurt monetarily in other ways through sanctions, and the U.S. is supposed to be waiting them out just to totally crumble. Why do we need even 2 aircraft carriers? Why wouldn't one be sufficient, with the other one being able to arrive very shortly? I don't understand at all what's going on unless they're planning something, and maybe by the end of this weekend we'll find out. It's hard to say, but if me being a nobody is hearing how bad the conditions are on an aircraft carrier that's in a war stance, something just don't seem right there. That information, if true, I don't think they would let it leak out as it has. So we'll see what's happening. Again, it's really day by day, and I hope you all have preparations that'll at least get you through a long weekend. Who knows what could happen, whether it has something to do with this war or a terrorist activity within the U.S. borders, or even a bad storm. I say a week preps are minimum, but if you don't have a week, at least try to have all the things you'd need and some of the things you would want to get through a long weekend at home. To me, that just makes common sense. I mean, we don't go out to the grocery store to buy our evening meal every day. We buy a week ahead of time so that we don't have to do that. And your preps should reflect that. I know toward the end of the weeks, there are a few things in my pantry that I eat more regularly that I need to replenish, but I still have plenty of stuff that I could get by, and for quite a long period of time. And I hope that you're in that position also. So we'll see what goes on this weekend. Maybe nothing, maybe everything. I hope we can find an enduring peace over there and be able to move on with fixing the economy, making America great again.